we're all about service to our nation, our neighbors, our communities, and to each other.
I'm Sean Starker, and welcome into the Future in Flight podcast, coming to you from a hangar somewhere near the flight line, where the coffee's hot, the av gas is flowing, and the stories of aviation never get old. Today, we're taking you on an incredible journey into the world of citizen aviators, the men and women of the Civil Air Patrol who've been serving America's skies since 1941. You're going to meet Major Roger Levy, commander of the New York City Wing, who'll share stories that'll blow your mind. We're talking about hunting German U-boats in World War II, flying reconnaissance over Ground Zero after 9/11, and how everyday citizens are operating the world's largest fleet of single-engine aircraft. Then, we're deep diving into the engineering marvel that is the airplane tire. And we'll wrap up with a visit to Heaven's Landing, a breathtaking aviation community in the Georgia mountains where the views are absolutely angelic. So grab your headset, settle in, and let's get ready for takeoff. Today on the show, we're exploring an organization that's been serving America's skies since 1941, but might be one of aviation's best-kept secrets. The Civil Air Patrol combines service, education, and some seriously cool flying opportunities in ways you probably never imagined. That sound you're hearing isn't just any aircraft. It's part of the largest fleet of single-engine aircraft in the world. And it's not operated by an airline or the military, but by everyday citizens who volunteer their time to serve their communities from above. Today, we're joined by Major Roger Levy, commander of the New York City Wing of the Civil Air Patrol, to discover what this organization is all about and why it might be the perfect fit for aviation-minded young people. The Civil Air Patrol, or CAP for short, has been around for nearly 80 years, but many people don't know its rich history or its current missions. Major Levy didn't start out as a commander. His journey began with a simple fascination that many of us share.
Ever since I was a little kid, as far back as I can remember, I was fascinated by things that moved and carried people, and airplanes especially. Way before I ever learned to fly, I would go and buy copies of the FAA's Airplane Flying Handbook, and that was my fun reading. And eventually, life and circumstances permitted me to pursue my dream of flight. And at some point, I learned about CAP. And my first thought was, wow, an amazing thing. A way to use my aviation skills, such as they are, for public good.
That passion for aviation eventually led Major Levy to leadership within the organization. His approach to commanding the New York City Wing draws from his experiences both in the air and on the ground.
I tend to look at everything through an aviation lens. I've been known to make inappropriate aviation analogies to almost everything. And in flying, planning is everything. You live and die by your pre-flight preparation and by your flight planning. And so I approach my tasks as a leader in Civil Air Patrol with a similar mentality. I try and encourage people to have a clear objective in mind and to develop a plan for it.
Mexico 405 and 110.15 and then 4 left, clear for takeoff.
But like any good pilot knows, no flight plan survives first contact with reality unchanged.
Mike Tyson once famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. In the military context, you sometimes hear, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And flying is kind of like that as well. You create a flight plan. It looks great on paper. You get your clearance. First thing you do is you get a reroute. You have to adapt. Weather changes. You have to adapt. So it starts with a plan, but you got to be flexible.
The Civil Air Patrol isn't just about flying airplanes. It's built around 3 core missions that serve communities across America. Let's break down what these missions are and how they impact people's lives.
Our core mission categories are emergency services, aerospace education, and cadet programs. And all three are vital to what we do. In emergency services, we're probably best known for our search and rescue operations. An airplane goes down in the mountains and we get a call and we scramble an air crew and other teams and we go find it. Aerospace education, we divide that into two areas, internal and external. So we pride ourselves on educating our own membership about the history of aeronautics, about current events in aerospace, and we extend that outward to the public.
While search and rescue might be what most people associate with the Civil Air Patrol, their role has evolved significantly since their formation during World War II, when they were literally hunting enemy submarines off America's coast.
Our first missions were offshore patrols in members' private airplanes, enemy sub-hunting and sub-chasing. We're actually credited with sinking one German U-boat in World War II from a member's airplane, dropping unguided ordnance and down the sub went. It's an amazing story.
From those wartime origins, the Civil Air Patrol is constantly adapted to new technologies and new needs. In urban areas like New York City, their emergency services look different than in rural parts of the country.
The most famous example is probably 9/11. Okay, the day after 9/11, the only airplanes in the sky were Air Force fighter jets on patrol and CAP. Our aircraft, based on Long Island, took the first post 9/11 reconnaissance photos of Ground Zero. It was an incredible mission, but that's the kind of post-disaster reconnaissance we do. We did the same thing after Hurricane Sandy and elsewhere around the country. We are frequently called on by FEMA to do post-disaster reconnaissance. We'll take thousands of photographs, upload them to FEMA, and that's how they figure out the extent of damage.
Perhaps the most visible part of the Civil Air Patrol is their cadet program, which offers young people aged 12 to 18 unique opportunities in leadership, aerospace, and service that you simply can't find anywhere else.
Probably the most impactful way is our orientation flight program. All our cadets are encouraged to get into our airplanes and to get aloft. It's not necessarily the same as flight instruction in a formal sense, but there's nothing like seeing the sense of amazement on a cadet's eyes when the pilot in command of the aircraft says, "Here you go, your airplane," and the cadet gets to manipulate the controls and see the practical effect of lift, thrust, drag, and see what the controls in the aircraft actually do.
These experiences have led to incredible success stories for many Civil Air Patrol cadets. Major Levy shared just a couple of examples that showcase the program's impact.
I know of one fellow. He started life as a cadet in New York City. He at age 18, he became what we call a senior member, not senior citizen, although we have our share of those. But that's just how we differentiate our cadets from our adult members, cadets and seniors. He became a senior member. He joined the Army. He went for aviation training, and today he's back with us as a senior member and as a Black Hawk pilot with the Army National Guard out of Iceland. Another cadet, a couple of years ago, a female cadet, she was so outstanding that she applied to and was accepted by all the service academies, the Air Force Academy, West Point, the Naval Academy.
All of these programs and opportunities are guided by the Civil Air Patrol's core values, which form the foundation of everything they do.
Our core values, integrity, respect, service, excellence, these are things that inform literally everything we do. Everything has to start with core values. This is kind of our compass. It provides our direction. Without integrity, you have nothing. We're all about service to our nation, our neighbors, our communities, and to each other.
Let's talk about something that gets every aviation enthusiast excited: the aircraft. The Civil Air Patrol operates a specialized fleet that's perfectly suited to their unique missions.
We have the largest fleet of single-engine aircraft in the world. It's mostly Cessna aircraft. The bulk of the fleet is Cessna 182 and 172 aircraft, some Cessna 206s, and a sprinkling of other types.
And while the aircraft might be relatively simple, the technology inside them is anything but basic.
Even though we're low and slow, we have some pretty cool technology in our cockpits and mounted on our wings. We have some cutting-edge infrared-based technology. We have what we call glass cockpits. We have cockpits that rival business jets and airliners in their sophistication, all geared towards our missions.
Flying these aircraft around New York City presents unique challenges. The airspace is among the most complex in the world, but pilots from the Civil Air Patrol New York City wing are trained to navigate it safely.
I remember the first time I flew up the Hudson River at low altitude. First time I did it alone, I scared myself pretty good because I was trying to stay in this little slice of airspace between 1,000 and 1,300 feet above ground. That's a tiny little sliver of airspace, a little airspace tunnel where you can actually fly through without talking to anyone on the radio. It's legal. It's not recommended. I haven't done it since. For me, it's 1,500 or 2,000 feet talking to the tower controllers all the way through. Flying up the Hudson River at 1,500 feet, eyeballs level with the Freedom Tower, you feel like Superman every time. And it never gets old. I could do that 1,000,000 times, and every time it's as thrilling as the first.
For young people interested in aviation, leadership, or service, the Civil Air Patrol offers opportunities you simply can't find anywhere else. Major Levy shared some advice for those thinking about joining.
Start with our national website, gocivilairpatrol.com. There's an enormous amount of information there. There are links to help you find units close to you. Most people live within striking distance of more than one Civil Air Patrol squadron, and I'd say visit a couple before you select one to join. Because even though we are all charged with executing and supporting the same set of missions, each unit will do so a little differently.
I asked Major Levy about his most memorable flying experience, and his answer captures the magic that keeps aviators coming back to the sky.
I flew with an instructor pilot, a wonderful fellow. We flew a cross-country flight from White Plains up to Niagara Falls in instrument conditions, and I flew over Niagara Falls. It was I'd been to Niagara Falls before, and you know it's awesome looking up at the falls and hearing the thunder, but it's just as awesome in a different way, circling the falls from 1,000 feet up. It was an amazing view.
Whether it's flying over natural wonders, helping communities in crisis, or mentoring the next generation of leaders, the Civil Air Patrol combines service and aviation in ways that have been inspiring Americans since 1941. For anyone out there who might be looking for a way to turn your aviation passion into something meaningful, the Civil Air Patrol's doors are wide open. Who knows, you might find yourself flying those distinctive red, white, and blue aircraft yourself. Coming up next, we take a look at how airplane tires are made, and we pay a visit to a heavenly flying community in the North Georgia mountains. Trusted in aviation training since 1940, ASA creates first-class products that empower pilots and mechanics to succeed. Whether your journey involves earning your airman certificate, flying or maintaining a new aircraft, or climbing the career ladder, Backed by integrity and exceptional customer service, our pilot supplies, books, and digital training help you navigate the dynamic aviation landscape. With ASA by your side, the sky is not the limit, it's just the beginning. Now, we're focusing on something most of us have probably never given a second thought to: airplane tires. That sound you just heard? That's what happens when a commercial airliner touches down at around 170 miles per hour. And yet, despite that incredible stress, airplane tires don't explode on impact. How is that possible? Today, we're digging into the engineering marvel that is the airplane tire, from their creation to their unique properties and the critical role they play in keeping us safe in the skies. Let's start with some perspective. Think about your car tires for a moment. They're designed to last for tens of thousands of miles, slowly wearing down over time. But airplane tires? They're built for an entirely different purpose. Aircraft tires aren't designed for longevity. They're engineered to withstand extreme forces for very short periods. Imagine supporting the weight of a Boeing 747, which can weigh up to 450 tons at takeoff, and then accelerating that mass from 0 to 180 miles per hour in seconds. Now reverse that process for landing, when all that weight slams onto the runway at high speed. That's the job of an airplane tire. And here's what's wild. They're actually handmade. Unlike your car tires that roll off an automated assembly line, aircraft tires are crafted by skilled workers who layer materials like rubber, fabric, and even Kevlar, the same material used in bulletproof vests, to create a tire that can handle these extreme conditions. One of the most noticeable differences between your car tires and airplane tires is the pressure. Your car tires probably run at around 30 to 35 pounds per square inch, or PSI. But airplane tires? They operate at pressures that would blow your mind, and your car tires, to pieces. Commercial airliners run their tires at up to 200 psi. And if you think that's high, the Concorde, the sleek supersonic passenger jet that used to cross the Atlantic in under 4 hours, had tires pressurized to 294 psi. And the space shuttle? Those tires were inflated to a mind-blowing 600 psi. That's more than 16 times the pressure in your car tires. But high pressure isn't the only unique feature of these tires. You might be wondering, what's inside those high-pressure tires? Well, the answer isn't your standard gas station air pump air. It's nitrogen. Yes, pure nitrogen. There are a couple of really good reasons for this. First, nitrogen doesn't expand and contract as much with temperature changes. When a plane takes off from Phoenix at 100 degrees Fahrenheit and then cruises at 35,000 feet where the temperature might be minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's a 160-degree swing. Using nitrogen keeps the tire pressure more stable. Second, and perhaps more importantly, nitrogen doesn't support combustion. If a tire overheats during landing, which can happen during an emergency stop, the last thing you'd want is oxygen inside that could potentially ignite any gases from the overheated rubber. Speaking of overheating, airplane tires have another ingenious safety feature called fusible plugs. These are essentially safety valves that are designed to melt at a specific temperature. If a tire starts to overheat, which could happen during an aborted takeoff when the brakes generate tremendous heat, these plugs melt and allow the tire to deflate in a controlled way instead of potentially exploding. It's like having a built-in fire escape for each tire. Now, you might be wondering who makes these specialized tires. The aircraft tire industry is dominated by names you might recognize from your car tires: Goodyear, Michelin, Bridgestone, and a specialized manufacturer called Dunlop Aircraft Tires. Together, these 4 companies control about 85% of the market. Their expertise isn't just in manufacturing, it's in innovation. Take Michelin, for example. After the tragic Air France Concorde crash in 2000, which was partially caused by tire failure, Michelin worked with British Aerospace and Air France to develop a new type of tire using near-zero growth technology, or NZG. This technology, adapted from motorsports like Formula One racing, minimizes how much the tire expands under the extreme heat and pressure of landing. This innovation helped get the Concorde back in the air and has since been adapted to improve tires for business jets like Citations and Falcons. And Michelin isn't stopping there. They're researching something called the Tweel, spelled TWEEL, which is a non-inflated tire wheel composite that could eliminate the need for maintenance and withstand damage better than traditional tires. Here's something that might surprise you. About 90% of commercial aircraft are flying on retreaded tires. Yes, retreads. But before you get worried about flying on used tires, you should know that these aren't like the retreads you might have heard bad things about for cars. Aircraft tire retreading is a high-tech process with rigorous quality controls. The worn tread is removed, and the tire carcass is thoroughly inspected before a new tread is applied, and the whole tire is rebaked in a mold. The result is a tire that performs as well as a new one, but at a fraction of the cost. Airlines can retread their tires up to 7 times before replacing them completely, which makes good environmental and economical sense. And since the FAA and other aviation authorities closely regulate this process, retreaded aircraft tires meet the same safety standards as new ones. You might have noticed smoke coming from airplane tires when they touch down. This isn't a sign of trouble. It's actually completely normal. That smoke occurs because of the extreme friction that happens when a tire that's been stationary suddenly contacts the runway at speeds between 150 and 180 knots. That's around 170 to 200 miles per hour. The aircraft's weight amplifies this friction, and when pilots apply the brakes, it creates even more heat. The specialized rubber compounds in aircraft tires are designed to withstand this heat, but some degradation happens on the surface, creating that dramatic smoke we see during landings. Let's talk about some different types of aircraft tires. Not all planes use the same kind of tires. They're specially designed for the aircraft's mission. Large commercial jetliners use sophisticated multi-part tires that can handle heavy loads and high speeds on paved runways. But if you're flying a bush plane into the Alaskan wilderness, you'll want something completely different. Backcountry pilots use special tires, sometimes called bush wheels or tundra tires, that can be as large as 35 inches in diameter. These massive tires allow pilots to land on rough, unprepared surfaces like gravel bars, beaches, or even tundra. What's really cool about these backcountry tires is that they can be inflated to extremely low pressures, sometimes as low as 3 to 4 psi, which allows them to absorb bumps and cushion landings on rough terrain. The trade-off? They create more drag and can reduce your airspeed by 5 to 10 knots. Whether you're flying a small Cessna with just 3 tires or a massive cargo plane with up to 32 tires, proper maintenance is critical. The number one rule for tire maintenance? Check the pressure daily. Aircraft tires naturally lose about 2 to 3% of their pressure with each landing, and temperature changes have a big impact too. Approximately 1% pressure change for every 5 degree Fahrenheit change in temperature. Underinflated tires are more likely to fail, create excessive heat, and wear out prematurely. On the flip side, overinflated tires don't absorb shocks as well and can lead to a rough landing or even damage to the aircraft structure. Pilots and maintenance crews also need to inspect tires regularly for any signs of damage like cuts that expose the inner fabric or steel cords, bulges that might indicate internal damage, or unusual wear patterns that could suggest alignment issues. So the next time you're on a flight, take a moment during boarding to glance down at those tires beneath you. They might not look extraordinary, but they represent decades of engineering innovation and are literally where the rubber meets the runway in aviation safety. From their specialized rubber compounds to their high-pressure nitrogen inflation, from their fusible safety plugs to their ability to handle extreme forces, airplane tires are truly unsung heroes of aviation. They may only last for about 500 landings before needing to be retreaded, but during those critical moments of takeoff and landing, they perform their job flawlessly thousands of times a day around the world. Up next, a look at a heavenly flying community in the mountains of North Georgia. Picture this. You wake up in your house on a mountain ridge, coffee in hand, looking out over the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia. The morning mist is lifting, revealing something pretty incredible in the valley below. Your own private runway, and sitting in your personal hangar, your airplane, ready to take you anywhere in the world. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, for the residents of Heaven's Landing, it's just a Tuesday morning. Our story begins not with aviation, but with cars. Mike Ciochetti was living fast. Literally. Picture a guy racing 200 miles an hour around NASCAR tracks, working as a test driver for racing legend Roger Penske. We're talking serious adrenaline junkie stuff here.
I was a race car driver. I ran on the ARCA series, and I ran a test platform for the Penske organization when Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield were the drivers. I was their R&D platform, or their crash dummy, as they called me.
In 1999, Mike signed a massive contract, $2 million a year to race in the Winston Cup Series. That's like hitting the lottery if you're a race car driver. He was set to compete in the Daytona 500, living the racing dream. But here's where life threw Mike a curveball that would change everything. At Talladega Speedway in October 1999, 6 laps from victory, disaster struck.
Unfortunately, I went to Talladega in October of that year, of 99, and though we dominated most of the race, I got crashed out with 6 laps to go and broke my left shoulder and was left incapacitated, and my career came to a screeching halt.
One crash, one broken shoulder, and suddenly Mike's racing career was over before his big contract even really began. Now here's the wild part. Before his accident, Mike had already put down a $500,000 deposit on 500 acres of land in Georgia. The plan was simple: build a private airstrip so he could fly between races and still be home for dinner with his kids. But now, he was stuck in a hospital bed in Chicago, facing multiple surgeries, and he couldn't afford the remaining $3.5 million he owed on the property.
So I now had $500,000 down, hard earnest money on a piece of property I couldn't afford. And the original plan was a Mike Ciochetti fly-in estate so that I could go to work and still be home with the kids at night. Because I was now injured and laying in a hospital bed in Chicago having multiple surgeries, I started dialing for dollars, and we turned Mike's Landing into Heaven's Landing.
Sometimes the best things in life come from the worst moments. Mike's racing crash didn't just end one dream, it launched something even bigger. Fast forward to today, and Heaven's Landing has become something truly special. We're talking about 639 acres nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, surrounded by thousands of acres of national forest. It looks like someone took the concept of a gated mountaintop community and asked, but what if everyone could fly? The centerpiece is a 5,200-foot concrete runway. That's long enough for pretty much any private aircraft you can imagine. Well, almost any.
We had a Gulfstream 4 land here one time, but that was a bit large for us. That was a major pucker factor.
I love that phrase, pucker factor. For those not familiar with pilot slang, that's when something makes you so nervous that, well, you can figure out the rest. But here's what makes Heaven's Landing different from other fly-in communities. Location, location, location. Most aviation communities are stuck way out in the middle of nowhere. Heaven's Landing, 7 minutes to downtown Clayton, Georgia. You can literally fly in from anywhere in the world and be at a top-rated restaurant faster than many people can get across town in traffic. Think about what that means for a second. You could have breakfast in New York, lunch in your hangar in Georgia, and dinner at one of 4 top 100 restaurants in the U.S. Now, when I say community, I'm not talking about some cookie-cutter suburb where everyone's house looks the same. Heaven's Landing offers 2 completely different lifestyles. And this is where it gets really interesting. Option 1, you can build right on the taxiway. Your house is literally connected to your hangar, which is connected to the runway. Roll out of bed, walk to your plane, and you're airborne in minutes. Option 2, and this is Mike's choice, build up on the mountain ridge with the incredible views and keep your hangar down on the field.
God paints me a beautiful picture every morning when I wake up, when I sit on top of that ridge looking off of my back porch. I see something beautiful every day.
And what kind of beautiful picture are we talking about? Remember, 63% of the surrounding county is national forest, and another 17% is lakes. That means only 20% of the land is even available for development. And Heaven's Landing claims 639 acres of the best of it. The community is designed around a 13,000 square foot clubhouse that sounds more like a luxury resort than a community center. We're talking racquetball courts, fitness center, steam rooms, sauna, dining facilities, the works.
My favorite part of the place is the gym. I am a little bit of a gym rat. I'm usually in there about 6:30 every morning.
Mike's got good reason to stay in shape. He became a dad again at 53, welcoming his 6th child. Talk about motivation to stay young. And here's something really cool. Remember how we said this place appeals to people from all walks of life? Well, one of Heaven's Landing's regular visitors is country music superstar Alan Jackson.
Alan Jackson's Falcon 50. We loved watching that thing come in, and especially the way they came in. They always favored runway 5, which is not the preferred runway, but they liked it because runway 5, the second half is uphill. They didn't like to use their brakes if they could help it, so they always liked landing uphill, even though the approach was over a ridge, and they would come in at about a 20-degree angle and literally bank in the flare right above the ground.
Now, Alan's pilot had a specific reason for this dramatic landing technique. Those Falcon 50 brakes, they cost about $120,000 to replace. So instead of using brakes, they'd land uphill on the runway, letting gravity do the work. But the connections don't stop at the Georgia mountains. Heaven's Landing has a partnership that sounds almost too good to be true. Exclusive access to a 5-star resort in the Bahamas.
As an owner at Heaven's Landing, because of our marketing partnership, you'll get a 50% discount when you visit Grand Isle Resort, and it is stunning.
So you can literally go from mountain morning to Caribbean afternoon. From whitewater rafting in Georgia to snorkeling in the Bahamas. It's like having 2 completely different vacation homes, except one of them comes with a runway. So what does Heaven's Landing represent for the future of aviation communities? It shows us that flying doesn't have to mean isolating yourself from the world. It can mean connecting more deeply with it. Think about the traditional American suburb. You drive everywhere, you're stuck in traffic, and you barely know your neighbors. Now, imagine a community where your neighbors are fellow pilots, where you can fly to dinner instead of driving, where your backyard connects to thousands of acres of wilderness. For Gen Z and millennials who are just starting to think about where they want to build their lives, places like Heaven's Landing represent a completely different way of thinking about home, community, and connection.
I've never had a person complain and say that it wasn't beautiful. It's absolutely a stunning place to live.
Mike's been living in the area for 36 years, and he says he could have lived anywhere in the world. That's a pretty strong endorsement for someone who's seen a lot of places during his racing career. From race car crashes to runway communities, Mike Ciochetti's story reminds us that sometimes our biggest setbacks become our greatest opportunities. What started as a personal necessity, a way to balance work and family, became a vision for how aviation can bring people together rather than take them away. Heaven's Landing isn't just about owning an airplane or living in a fancy community. It's about reimagining what's possible when you combine technology, community, and a really good view. If you want to learn more about Heaven's Landing, you can visit their website or contact Mike directly. They offer tours 7 days a week, and Mike recommends planning to stay at least 1 or 2 nights to really experience everything the area has to offer. And that wraps up another incredible episode of the Future in Flight podcast. From Major Roger Levy's inspiring journey with the Civil Air Patrol to the amazing engineering behind airplane tires and our visit to the mountain paradise of Heaven's Landing, we've covered some serious ground today, or should I say, some serious airspace. The stories we share on this podcast prove that aviation isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about service, innovation, community, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Whether you're a student pilot working on your first solo, a seasoned aviator with thousands of hours, or someone who just loves looking up when they hear engines overhead, there's a place for you in this incredible world of flight. Speaking of community, I need your help. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app. And here's the big ask. Take just 2 minutes to leave us a review. Those 5-star ratings and written reviews help other aviation enthusiasts discover our show and join our growing community. Got a story you think we should cover? Know somebody doing some incredible things in aviation? Drop me a line through our website or social media. This podcast is built on the amazing stories from our aviation community, and I'm always looking for the next great adventure to share. From all of us here at the Future in Flight podcast, thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for your passion for aviation, your support of this show, and for being part of a community that never stops reaching for the sky. Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon and your dreams in the clouds. We'll see you out there and up there.